we're on about our fourth or fifth Zoom meeting today, and I always get a kick out of how we come into Zoom meetings. I wish I would have been able to start videotaping all of us, you know, up in the thing like this and trying to. You always see funny faces, and I always get a kick out of all of us coming into Zoom meetings. So great to have you. We are recording this, and great to have those that are listening after this session. So I thought what I'd do, if you don't mind, I'd like to read you my favorite little paragraph or two out of Leaving a Legacy, and then I'll show you. I thought it'd be kind of neat to maybe share some of the sketches, literally rough hand sketches that I did of the characters, the 7 characters, the board of directors, 20 some years ago, and because it allowed me to make them human, to make them to start to get a picture of what they look like, and then what would they possibly be saying? What would they be relating with? And so I'll share that. And then maybe I go through each one of the wisdoms, just kind of quickly, just to see, how did you relate with this? What did you think? That's where we'll try and put you on to offer some insight. So hopefully this is more of a book discussion and not a book dissertation on my part. So Danielle, can I do that? Can I read a bit?
That would be wonderful.
That's good for you.
If you all remember, there's my favorite place. The thing I enjoyed envisioning was this young man, Joe, as a little boy in West Virginia, and meeting up with this old hermit. Because that was just fun to think about what that might be like, and think about maybe what experience that would be for a young boy to sneak away with biscuits in his pocket to give to the hermit, and then the lessons that he could learn. Like many of us maybe have learned lessons from, if we think back in our younger days, back to when we 5 or 6 or 10 years old. The lessons that we might have learned that are still real today, which is a kind of an interesting thought. So I'm going to bring up, if I can, I'll share this screen, hopefully.
Oh, let me stop sharing mine.
Oops. That's okay. Let me. I'm going to bring up these characters. So am I sharing my screen there, Danielle?
Not yet. Come back.
Yeah. I may not be able to do it. Should be able to do it.
There.
And let me see if I can.
There was an icon on there.
Oops, that's not my icon, I don't think. Oh well. Oh, here we go. I bet I can do it here. I'm with you now. All right. Got it. Is that it being shared?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Let me read. There's the characters, and if you remember, Joe, let me read this one paragraph and a couple of sentences. Oh, Ernest, I don't know. I think I can. I know I want to. Anyway, what do I have to do to see the magic? Will you tell me so I can make sure I see it? Jojo was almost begging to see the magic. Ernest just smiled, sat down on the old crate that was on the only piece of furniture outside of his shack. To see magic, Jojo, you gotta look past what you believe. You gotta think of everything as in the way it seems or the way you think it is, you'll never see the magic. We don't get in trouble in life until we start thinking that life should be the way we want it to be. Life is never the way we want it to be. Life is the way it is. And if we look past our beliefs, look past what we believe to be real, then we can see the possibilities that life has to offer each of us. That is the magic, JoJo, seeing the possibilities of life. It's been a while since I've read that, and it was good for me early this morning, knowing we'd be getting together, to think about looking past what's real, to think about looking past maybe what we believe. And I think as we move into our later years, to think that maybe we can't do as much as what we would want to do or like to do or be able to do. Boy, when we can start looking past that, and I'm guessing for all of you, every one of us that are on here, that when we start seeing the possibilities, that's when the energy starts to happen. That's when we get energized, and maybe you can find just something little that we can do and make a difference. And we'll talk about that idea of just making a difference and what that is with leaving a legacy. So as you see this this batch of cast of characters here, of Joe and Melvin and Leo and Hoover and Howard and Sammy and Rhodey, I don't know, I would love, if it's okay, if we can, Daniel, to open it up, and hopefully we can get a chance to talk. I would love to know just which one of those characters maybe stood out to be your favorite, if you would. So let's try. Can I call on you, like school?
Sure.
Yeah, Rita, you popped in there. Rita Eckert. Which one of those characters, if there was one, stood out the most to you, or was your favorite?
I think Sammy. He was such a surprise to me because you had already said that he never smiled and everything, and to hear his story and how his smile had affected his life so much, when he was younger, and then he lost it, and I think that one stood out in my mind the most. And was he the first one too I think he was the first one.
He followed after Joe. Yeah, he followed after Joe. Joe talked about making the best use of your time. Sammy talked about keeping the desire to smile. And I really met a character like that. It's funny where our ideas come from as authors. I was going through the Louisville airport, headed someplace, and looked over in a little corner, and there was a shoe shine stand. And that always relaxes me when I get a little chance to get the shoe shine. And I sat down, and this fella started shining my shoes. He had the biggest hands. I just remember for 40 or 45 years, he had been shining shoes there in the Louisville airport. And he whistled, and he was just whistling and smiling, and that image stuck with me. And when it was time to start putting together some of these characters, I got to write about Sammy, and he became real. He might be one of my favorites too, Rita, to tell you the truth. And I liked the story behind him. It was powerful, and I don't believe a lot in television sets. And that's what took away his smile. When the television set went up on the shelf, and he started paying more attention to that than he paid to the people coming in and out of his shop. So thanks. That's great. Lynn's iPad. Which one of the characters stand out the most to you there, my friend?
Well, my last name is not iPad, but I kind of like Melvin, and he was the one that protected Mikey in the end, right? He's the one that got killed off.
Right.
And, but anyway, there was something about him. Now, I'm trying to remember, is he the one that was he's not the one that was like, no, he wasn't the one stuck in the pit. No, he was the one that was in war but wouldn't shoot.
Mhm.
Yes.
Didn't
And-
take action.
Anyway, so for some reason, I don't know what it was, but there was something that just struck with him. And then when he did what he did, I thought, wow, that's so cool. And when he died, I thought, what the heck? What's with this? Why did they do that? And then toward the end, when it was like, he just kind of moved from him to like other events, there wasn't anything, or there wasn't much about like the guys like going to the funeral, or, as I remember. And there wasn't much written about him, just that he had done that. And like, well, Mel, God, dude, you did it. You know, you fulfilled your purpose. And I just liked Melvin for some reason.
All through the book, Melvin seems to be just a little bit of the glue, trying to hold the things together, trying to keep that meeting going and create something out of that meeting. And just had a kind, good spirit about him, and he'd had a hard life, really, to think about. Discharged and from I think he was a Marine, and to be taken out, and the story behind Iwo Jima and that went with that. So Melvin, that's great, Lynn. That's a great one. It's a good one to think about with it. And that taking action, yes, sometimes there's not going to be a big fanfare after we take action, even if it's saving a young man's life. But he took action anyway, and he didn't do it for the fanfare. If you think about it, he did it because of his love for Mikey at that point. Sharon, could you share one?
I just want to give a thought there on the Melvin one. I did like Melvin, but Sammy's my favorite. But with Melvin, what I saw was he wasn't able to take a life, but he could save a life.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
But anyway, Sammy with his smile and the fact that he lost it when the TV came in. And I think you can relate to that because we become more like homebound or hermit style between the TV and the computers and things. But I liked the whole book. There were so many good characters in it.
They all, thanks, Sharon. I appreciate it. They all became close. When I was writing the book, my two sons would have been 10, 11, 12 years old. And we would talk about them every night. We would like they were, if I was writing about Sammy or Hoover, and they couldn't wait to hear what was going to happen next. I couldn't either sometimes when I sat down there at the dinner table. So there were lots of ideas that we kind of rolled out from our two little boys and having those dinner conversations. And there's, and like when we talked about Melvin, when we found out what was going to happen, we all sat at that table, at dinner table, and cried. You know, the character of a book. So in writing it, it just became really real to me. And yeah, I love each of the characters that enabled me to get across some of the things that I wanted to talk about. And maybe we'll just do that just for a minute. Just go through these wisdoms. And I'd love maybe to just get your idea of what these mean to you. And Joe talking about this idea of making the best use of our time. And we can probably all get better at that. But as senior citizens, how can we make better use of our time? That was something that I wanted to ask each of you. Back when I wrote the book, I was, I don't know, 38 or something like that. And so I wasn't a senior citizen. Now I are one. And it's an interesting interesting thing to be in that situation as time goes by. But what can we do then to make better use of our time?
I think volunteering is a real possibility that I know I do that, and it's fulfilling, makes you feel quite useful yet.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I'm writing a book now. The book that I'm writing now. In it, there's a theme that to focus on what's happening through us instead of to us. What is happening through us instead of to us. And I think, Sharon, when we're volunteering and doing something for somebody, or sending a note, or giving a phone call, or just stopping in to visit, things are happening through us, and it's real hard to get down when we're doing something for somebody else. So focusing on what's happening through us instead of to us is an exciting thing. Keep volunteering. Years ago, I did a talk for the Lake County Council on Aging, and it was their award banquet, and I'm giving away all of these awards and reading names and talking about. I was humbled by all of the Lake County Council on Aging members, that the so many hours that they put in, that they were getting certificates for the hours that they put in. And so I came down off that stage, and then was supposed to go over and sit down and film do a little television show with cable network with some of the volunteers. And I'm wiping the sweat off, come and sit down. I sit down, they put the microphone on me, and I turn around, and this wonderful lady was sitting there. She was 100 years old. And I thought to myself, I looked her in the eye. She was getting an award for her 8 hours a month of volunteer work at 100 years old. And I looked at her, and we had to delay because tears starting to come down my face, because I've not looked into a 100-year-old person's eyes before, and it was pretty special. And to think about her volunteer work was pretty awesome as well. Let's talk about the path of a smile. And Sammy, this idea of keeping the desire to smile, the path of a smile begins in the heart, moves to the eyes, and performs on the lips. How do you relate with that? What comes to mind as you think of that statement? Lynn, what comes to mind? The path of a smile. Oops, anybody on that one? Lynn?
I'm thinking.
We'll come back to you, Lynn. Sharon, go ahead.
I think during this pandemic, there's so much negativity going on, and I shouldn't just say the pandemic, it's the riots and the demonstrations. And I think if you dwell on that, it's much harder to smile, because then you get drug into that. But if you can just look past it and remember to smile each day, even if it's just to a few people, because it brightens their day and yours.
Yeah, the power of a smile. It's the best investment that we can make, I think, because it costs so little, if nothing, and can have such an impact. Lynn?
I knew you'd come back to me.
I would. I know you, and I knew you were hoping I would.
I'm one of these people that I like to make people smile. I like when I'm talking to them. It's like there's a few people I've run across that I haven't getting them smile or laugh. I'm thinking, dude, there's something really wrong with them. That may not be, that just may be the way they are.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I do writing as well. I haven't written a book. It's come across in my mind a few times. But I just, I get it from, my mother. She had a slightly off way of looking at life, and I got it from her. I inherited from her and her brother, and um, uh, but you're right. I think it was Sharon was talking about the pandemic and going back to making the best use of your time. Um, this has been a tough time because we found ourselves, at least myself, found ourselves with a lot of downtime. And it's like, what do we do with ourselves? I'm still trying to figure it out. And so I'm, every once in a while. Now my wife, she's one that, she says, I never get bored. I have stuff to do. I do this and I do that. I read. I do puzzles, and I'm more more introverted, more of an empath maybe, and it's like, okay, I got to find something meaningful here.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm kind of looking for. Okay, what's my first part of my life? Make better use of this. When I first, oh yeah, here we go. But
What a wonderful question to be asking ourselves.
and
Go ahead.
I was hoping, okay, this book is about making the best of your time. I thought that's great, and then you add all this other stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I just want to think about one of them. But keeping the desire to smile, you just gotta, you just had in with this pandemic, or damn panic as I call it. It's like you just got going, and you can't let it drag you down.
Well, I hope you made me smile. I can feel that energy coming all the way to Western Massachusetts, where I'm at right now. So,
Okay.
Lynn, that's, and I mean that sincerely. That you do have that sense that you can tell that you want to make people smile. And can I tell you another thing? Maybe for all of us, keep writing. I think we all should write a book, even if it's to find out what's inside our heads. It's such a good exercise to go through. So continuing to write, seeing life as it really is, might have been the most, to me, the most interesting chapter that I wrote of any of the books that I've written. That as long as there's life, there's hope for a positive future. And writing about the concentration camps in that story was pretty intense for me. And to go and find out what that meant, what it meant. If you ever get a chance, the book, Man's Search for Meaning by, his name just slipped my mind. Linda, who is it?
Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl. That's why you have a great administrative assistant around, is you just call on him like that. Linda Kors. Thanks, Linda. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. A wonderful book to find meaning in the tragedies that they were going through, and he went through the prison camps. In the story in that book is actually based on what Viktor Frankl talked about one night in one of the barracks. And so it's interesting for me to think about what it would be like hearing Viktor Frankl talk about those things. But he lived to be 94 years old, made it through the concentration camps, and has helped a lot of people. Man's Search for Meaning and seeing life as it really is. This next one, Facing the Dragons Within. Let me ask you all just a question. What do you think? What do you think that one is about? Do you remember?
I kind of felt it was about your mental health.
Yeah, that's what depression, suffering and battling depression. And when the book first came out, and I was speaking a lot about it in different places, and I would start to talk about facing the dragons within. And you know what would happen? I would watch an audience go just like this and lean forward, because I think everybody, what I started to realize, everybody had some effect either in their own life or somebody they knew that battled depression, and learning to maybe face those fears or those thoughts. We talk about sometimes in meetings in events where I'm speaking, I'll ask, how many of you talk to yourself? And you'll see, all these hands go up. Yeah, and this idea of what are we saying? What are we saying when we talk to ourselves? Some of us have this little chattering drunk monkey on our shoulder, just chattering away, just stuff. And if we can learn to quiet those voices and to realize that they are happening in our heads, and learning to stop and find and choose the voice that we want to choose. What's the voice we want to listen to, and to know we have that choice. So facing the dragons within was about depression, and then how to become the person we wanted to be. Howard was an interesting character to me, to show up at McDonald's. I think he came as if I remember right, he was dressed with sword and knife, but he just changed. He let the real Howard out. Danielle, maybe I'll put you on the spot just for a moment.
Sure.
How, as you see people coming in and into the centers and such, how much battle with mental health and depression do you see that's taking place?
I think it's definitely something that's presented itself more in the last several years. I've been here 18 years, so I feel like people are more open about it and willing to talk about it, and looking for ways to find meaning and purpose through our activities to keep them just feeling like they can add value to something. So I feel like people are definitely more open about it now, and there's definitely many programs that can kind of help them to be integrated in the community and continue to do the things they love to do.
Yeah. That was my reason for wanting to write it way back then, was maybe this could start conversation around depression. And the Cavaliers, who plays, what is his name? Love, I forget his first, who battles depression, who got a lot of conversation going on it in the sports world. And I think being able to talk about it, being able to face it. The next book that I'm writing, the book that I'm writing right now, is called The Depressed Motivational Speaker. The Depressed Motivational Speaker. And we all, in learning, it's a funny, kind of a funny sound, but it's a serious book as we all learn to deal with those challenges, face those dragons within. Go ahead, Lynn.
I've always heard that comedians, even though they're funny and they get you to laugh, deep down, they're suffering.
Yeah. Ministers are the same way. You hear
Depressed motivational speaker, I'm thinking, there you go.
Yeah, it's a true, I think it's true. You hear so many ministers that struggle with depression and battle it, and sometimes it allows us to find relief. Probably what I'm thinking is when that comedian is on stage making people laugh, he's finding relief from that, just as a volunteer would find joy in volunteering and working through that. Appreciating the value of hard work. What do you think of this statement? The best work we can do is to help someone, and all the work we do helps someone. The best work we can do is to help someone, and all the work that we do helps someone. I think Sharon, thoughts on it?
Well, I think there's a lot of value in working together on a project. It helps you and it helps the other person. I volunteer with a quilt group, and we do quilts for areas that have been devastated by natural disasters. And it's a really great group of women that get together and do this. And so I find joy in that, they find joy in it, and someone receives the product of that joy.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think finding joy, finding energy, it's always been exciting to me working with organizations, business organizations over the last 3 or 4 decades. This idea of when people find a purpose and they dive into it, it's almost like they get just a whole different look to themselves. There's a different gait. They walk faster. They seem to smile more. They seem to be engaged. And appreciating the value of hard work. I love it when I meet a farmer who's in his 80s that looks like he can still get up on the roof and fix it, you know, and his family's going to get after him for doing it, but he's going to do it anyway, you know, because he's got that vitality and because he's worked and had a good opportunity to work his whole life. And I think appreciating the value of hard work and learning to share that. What do you think of finding inspiration in everything? Do you remember what Rhodey was all about?
I think he made a statement, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Yeah.
So I like that statement.
That is a good statement. I like that statement too. And talking, he was the one who had set up the show in the McDonald's, and Bruce Springsteen of all people comes in. And I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, have been all my life, and so it was fun writing about that. But still finding the inspiration in our flags, and finding the inspiration in fireworks, and finding the inspiration in sitting in the middle of the woods, and finding inspiration in everything is an exciting thing, especially for ourselves as we get into our later years. And there's something about teaching others, any chance we get, you know, to ask the question, what inspires you? What inspires you? What has inspired you lately? I would think it would be awesome to just ask some young folks, what's inspiring you today? What is inspiring you? And then maybe they'll ask you, and then to be able to talk about the things that are inspiring. And it's a wonderful country. We've got to remember that and continue to stay inspired about it. And then Lynn, you talked about having the courage to take action, and you guys mentioning Melvin, and the wisdom is wasted, experience is but a memory, and goals are a passing dream without the courage to take action. And we also talk about a lot in companies about ideas without action are soon lost. So we have this idea, we have a desire to write a book or to write an editorial and maybe get it into the paper, or we have this idea and then we don't take action on it. And it's always interested me why, you know, that's when we think, man, that'd be fun, then we should do that. We don't. And I think we see it as such a big step sometime. And that's one of the things I wanted to start thinking about ending here with is thinking in terms of what is the simplest thing we can do? What is the simplest thing we can do? Having the courage to take action and knowing that, Lynn, it's interesting how many people tell me that I'd like to write a book or I enjoy writing. How do you write a book? And my answer has always been, write the first sentence. Write the first sentence, because you can't write a book without writing the first sentence. That's a small step. Then get to the paragraph. Want to start walking or exercising. I tease people about, great, get a pair of tennis shoes, but don't put them on. Just buy a pair of tennis shoes and then set them at the end of your bed and walk past them a day or two. And then pretty soon put them on, tie them up, lace them up. And then maybe in the next day or two, you'll walk out the front door. We can do all those little steps. But man, if we want to start becoming a walker and we go out and we do, man, I'm going to walk 5 miles today. What does our body tell us the next morning?
What did you do that for?
Yeah. And if you do it again, you're going to really be in trouble, right? It's telling us. So taking the little steps along the way. And I think that might be what I would love for you each to take out of the book, maybe the most, is we're going to take action. What are the little things that we can do? We can do great big that could result in all the wonderful things that it talks about in the book and the things that they worked on, their passions, but they all started with a single step. And so I'm just kind of curious, and hopefully you don't mind. And you could say, Jim, mind your own business, but I'll ask anyway. So we've just spent 40 minutes or so together. You read the book, and again, I just appreciate that so much. What is an action in a little simple, small step that you can take from our time invested here?
Maybe we
Sharon?
can pick on Pat. Maybe we can pick on Pat.
Oh, I didn't know. Is there more? Is there
Yeah.
more?
Julie and Pat are here as well.
You gave me a
Oh,
hard question.
Pat, I didn't see you up. Yeah.
I'm on my phone. That's why you can't see me.
Okay. Great.
I don't have a camera on my computer. But
Well, you have a great voice.
well, thank you. But I did want to say something though. I love the entire book, and I could just see these men at McDonald's teasing each other a bit and complaining about everything. It's like Sammy complained about the skateboarders and that. And then each of them had this wonderful story, which every one of them made me cry.
Yeah.
I could start crying now. But I wanted to say, Sammy, I really loved him, and Rhodey, because he didn't seem to have much self-worth. And here he had this wonderful story. So anyway, yeah, I loved each and every one of them. So thank you for writing this book.
Well,
And then
thank you.
Liam, oh my gosh, with the Holocaust, I was there with him. So I
Thank
forgot
you.
your original question.
What? No, I thought you were stalling to get around it. Is what I thought you were doing.
I
The original
forgot it.
is what action and little small step would a conversation that we had here this afternoon cause you to take?
Well, maybe just to reach out to more people during this pandemic. I am on the phone a lot with a lot of people, and I do miss a lot of the people from the senior center, so I'm calling them just to see what's new with them and how they're doing. And basically, that's all I can do from here
And
at this point.
And think about the impact you are probably having from there. You keep doing that is, and maybe it's finding one more new person to call could be a wonderful thing to think about. Who haven't I called that I could possibly call and surprise?
Yeah, and
on
then
it.
they won't feel so alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Good. Sharon, how
And it
about
helps
it?
me.
What kind of step could you take from here?
I think just stepping outside and greeting my neighbors as I maybe take a walk or something, which is something I do, not in the heat, but
Sure.
when it's better. And just, I like to just go out and ask how they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. there's a wonderful song by an old songwriter by the name of John Prine, called Hello in There. And it is about connecting with each other. And Hello in There. It's a beautiful song. It was written back in the early 70s. It's a beautiful song. And there's nothing greater we can do than ask, how you doing? How you doing? And let somebody know you care on it. Thanks, Sharon. How about it, Len, my friend? I'm liking you, man. We're going to have to become pen pals. That's what I'd like to do. You make me smile.
I like the idea of going up to somebody and saying, what inspires you?
Yeah.
Or, but something that you had mentioned, or somebody said about going up to people and saying, how are you? Well, people say that all the time. How are you?
Yeah.
Oh, doing okay, or I'll say maybe about 3/8, but, it's like, what I really want to say is, do you really want to know? Because I'll gladly tell you. And, it may be good, it may be bad. It's whatever I'm going through at the time. But I have written more letters this week. We've got a phone call Sunday from a family, and he's in a nursing home. She can't see him because of this pandemic. And I've been going to write him for the last 2 years, and I haven't, so I did.
Good.
Also, a friend in prison in Nevada. She's, I don't know, maybe 30-something. She happened to get her third DWI in Nevada. And in most cases, it seems that you just get a hefty fine or a short prison or a short jail sentence. In Nevada, you're in for like a year to a year and a half. And her family is just like, oh my gosh, what's with this? Well, she's always been the black sheep. I'm a black sheep too. So we break back and forth.
Well, that's a person that needed to hear from you, I would think, and you wrote in doing that.
My wife and daughter write to her.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to stay in touch, you can.
You are a good man. I think the idea too of ending every letter with what inspires you might be something fun to get back from people. I'll tell you what, and I've got to go to the next event here. I could have spent, Danielle, all afternoon with y'all.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
And I think what inspires me is each and every one of you. What inspires me too, Danielle, are great leaders like yourself that make events like this possible. Keep challenging all of us and keep providing the opportunities. Guys, tell other people about the book, and I think my email address is in the back of that book, jim@jphorizons.com. I love hearing from you, and you'll be in my thoughts. I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch, guys. Wish I could spend more time.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Thank you.
So Danielle,
Yes,
you said you've been there for 18 years?
correct. Yeah.
Really? I thought you were only 25.
Oh, bless you.
No, I really did. When you said that, I thought, really? That's
Yeah.
you're younger than I thought you were younger than, well, you probably are, but you're still probably old enough to be my kid, but
I'm getting
anyway.
close to that Buckeye card. I think you're 50, right? Yeah.
I'll be 60 real soon. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to just take this couple of minutes and thank everyone for participating. And I was charged with the question to ask as we wrap up this great book discussion is, what can we do within the next 24 hours? So his mission was to say, what can we do? How can we take action and charge from the information we read from the book? But what little small thing would we do in the next 24 hours that would kind of be an inspiration for us to continue leaving our legacy? So maybe since Julie hasn't been able to share, I'll open it up to Julie?
I don't know. There are legacies every day, I guess. Whenever you're with your family and stuff or your friends. Anytime anyone, I've lived long enough that I usually have lived through whatever anybody's going through, so I can give them a little bit of advice of how I got through it, and that helps a lot of like kids and family, neighbors, friends. Somebody's going through a divorce. I've done it twice, so I already know about that. My husband died. I know about that. I had 2 kids that died. I know about that. I had my siblings and my parents die. I know how to do that. So years ago, after my husband died and I had to go through all of the estate and everything, my daughter called and told me that her friend was really upset because her husband had died and she was starting to sell all her stuff off. And I said, tell her to stop and get a lawyer, because that's what I did. Said she didn't know that they couldn't come after her for anything. So she did, and she saved herself her house and everything because she didn't start selling everything. So I could tell her because I'd been through it already. So that was helpful.
I think that's a really great point you made, is that your wisdom that you have through living through life is such a gift that you can share to many people in many different situations, especially when they're open to learning and open to getting some advice. The key thing I thought about it towards the end of the book is how they had the Old Wood Flowers Foundation that they had started. And I thought that was really kind of a neat concept as to okay, so now what is the next step? You get all this information, but now let's have a mission or a purpose. Rita, what do you think about what the next 24 hours would look like? Just kind of putting some action into place. Oh, I think you're still on mute. Yeah. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yep, I'm doing it.
There you go.
Well, I do feel like I reach out to people, and right now I'm trying to get somebody ready for that 90 spectacular.
Oh, great.
And every day I've been putting it off, that I haven't sent her the info or anything. But in the next 24 hours, maybe I'll try to do that and get it finished. We have to have that turned in by September, what, 1st?
Yeah.
So I'm running out of time. Yeah, so that, but I do feel like I reach out to people frequently, and I think that it's kind of in my DNA, because I think I've always done that, to tell you the truth. So,
Yes, you have, Rita.
pardon?
What was that?
Yes, Rita, yes, you have always reached out to people with your smile and made them feel comfortable.
No, well, thank you very much. Thank you. Julie, when you say you've experienced so much, you have. I mean, when you say that, you really have. And if somebody has lost their husband and they're grieving or whatever, I never, ever say, I know how you feel or anything, because I don't. I haven't experienced the loss of a child or loss of a husband or, and that does have a lot of meaning that you've been through it, and it's a different ballpark than those who have not.
That's a great point, Rita. I feel like we had somebody pass away that was on the hockey team in Slovenia. And he was 9 years old. And I feel like people have a really hard time showing that compassion and empathy, because they just really don't know what to say to someone when they experience a loss, especially a loss of a child. And losses are so different for everyone, and people react in different ways. So, Julie, what do you think? How do you open up the dialogue with that if someone has lost somebody?
Well, people that have known me a long time know my history. So, like when my son's friend that he had in school committed suicide, he was like 22. His mom reached out to me. She said, how do you handle that? And I walked her through as best I could. There's not really much you can do. Just try to keep his name going, talk to people about him, keep him alive, in your thoughts.
Oh, you just
But she called me because she knew I'd lost somebody.
You just made that perfect point, and I really appreciate you doing that, Julie. Did everyone read the poem in the back of the book, The Dash?
Yes.
Yeah. That was the great segue to that poem, Julie. The dash is that, between your birth and your death, what people really truly remember about you. And I feel like that's what's most important, right? Sharing that dash.
Yeah, because a lot of people are afraid to mention the person's name that has passed, and it's better like when you get together, like after a funeral, everybody eats, everybody's talking and sharing memories. That's the best part because, it takes a little of the sting out of it
Mm-hmm.
that other people remember,
Rita had something she wanted to share, so I'm going to unmute Rita. I think you have to unmute yourself again.
Yeah, I do. I just have a question, and I may have missed it because we have TV guys here. So, which is not fun. The epilogue. Now that was completely fictional, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like that though, like how he met the president, and I guess it was a way of saying, I don't know, this is my interpretation, so yours may be different, so please share. But it was a way of saying, like, your work will not go unnoticed. It will go recognized. Like, not that you may want it to be recognized, but people will feel or see your recognition, what you're doing, and feel value in it. Did anyone think that was any different?
Yeah, everything's up there.
I was just baffled, kind of, myself. I mean, it was like, come on, and so I think I reflected more that way than I did any. But it is a nice thought that
Sure.
that they would be recognized, that we would be recognized.
Right.
I thought they might have been a log where old wood flower found it, and where they do the and all. I tried to look them up online. They don't exist. It's all, you're right, it's all fictional.
Fictional.
Okay, but this could be, but
could be. That's what I really liked about it.
I was honestly thought it was for real. I was looking for our website and I couldn't find one, so.
Doesn't it sound like a wonderful idea though?
Yeah.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Such purpose and value, and I guess the key thing I take away is that it's all in the little things you do, right? Like even just a little smile or bringing a sausage to a dog. Like how simple is that? Just something so.
Yeah, it reminds
simple.
Me of my daughter. Whenever she would go to McDonald's and she'd get like a egg McMuffin or something like that, she'd always scrape the cheese off and save it in the envelope where the hash brown was, and she would take it and eat it another time. Well, it got to a point that she would like put it in in the back, in the front seat of a car. There's sometimes like a pocket. Well, there's a couple times that she had left it there.
Oh.
And so when we clean out the car because we got a new one or whatever, it'd be like, Katie's been here. She got her cheese. It didn't get moldy. It was just just.
It's not real, Lynn. It's not real cheese.
No, yeah, I know. But anyway, but it was like these little pieces of, they break apart. This.
Yeah.
But
I like that analogy of sometimes we save something that's so good and put it away and then never bring it back out because we forget about it, right? So it's like always bring out those good things right away. Like your fine china. How many of you eat on your fine china every day? Right?
No, we don't use it.
I know. Why don't we use it?
We had to have it, just had to have it. Now we don't even use it.
I know. I think you should all eat on fine china tonight because you deserve it.
Well,
I gave mine away because it was just taking up space.
Yeah.
how about Chinette instead?
Yeah, there you go. I have been getting the biggest kick out of people who, while during this, while we're shut in, that they've been going through all their stuff and how they say, "Oh, I didn't know I had that," and I just get the biggest kick out of it. It's like a treasure hunt almost.
It's interesting though, like how many like material things we end up possessing that we don't even end up ever using, or like at the time it's really important we have it and then we put it away on a shelf
Yeah,
and it becomes
yeah, I agree with that totally.
so. I find that I really appreciate each and every one of you for sharing your afternoon with us, and go forth and set forth your action plans today. And I look forward to seeing and hearing about what comes up out of it. Yeah, maybe you will start the Old Wood Flower Foundation. That'd be very cool.
Yeah.
But
Bye,
I
everybody.
appreciate you. Share your book with everyone, and we will connect again hopefully soon. So have a great
right.
afternoon.
What's the book?
Thank you.
What'd you say, Lynn?
What's the next book?